Welcome to the Financial Freedom Podcast, where we interview remarkable people and share strategies for mastering money and living a meaningful life. With your host, Grant Sabatier, creator of Millennial Money and author of Financial Freedom, a proven path to all the money you will ever need.
Hey everyone, just a quick announcement. Just to let you know that I've opened the doors to my Fipreneur community, which is an entrepreneurship-driven financial independence group of people who are starting side businesses, growing their businesses, and using entrepreneurship to accelerate their journey to financial independence. It's a very vibrant group, and I only open it twice a year. If you want to learn more, visit grantsabatier.com/community. And if you're hearing this after April the 5th, you can still visit that URL and join the waitlist to be updated once the community is open. I'm very involved. We have a Slack group. There's a lot of great ideas being shared, as well as money being made. Now on to the show. Welcome to the podcast. This is a solo episode. It's been a couple years since I recorded one of these, and I wanted to share a life update as well as talk about where the creator economy is headed. It's never been more uncertain making money online, and I wanted to talk about some of the ways in which I'm doing it and what I think about the future of the creator economy, as well as share an update on my new book. I recently just turned in the manuscript. It's a follow-up to Financial Freedom, focused on entrepreneurship, as well as just share some life updates because it's been a while since I've done one of these, and life moves fast, and I wanted to reflect back on the last couple of years and share that with you. So let's dive in without further ado. It is a beautiful Wednesday morning in March of 2024. Spring is coming. I can hear the birds very loudly outside of my Ohio home. I always know that signals spring, and a lot's happened in the past couple of years. I had a baby, and I bought an apartment in New York. I finished a second book. I launched a company called MMG Media, which is a website holding company where I acquire personal finance websites. We currently have 5 websites in our portfolio, but it's a rapidly changing ecosystem with the recent Google updates and the increasing proliferation of AI. And so a lot has changed in my life, and I'm excited to dig in. As I'm recording this, the US stock market has hit an all-time high, and it's really been an incredible past 2 years to be an investor, and really an incredible past 10 years to be an investor in the United States. A vast majority of my personal net worth is still in a total stock market index fund. I don't own any bonds, and I'm investing very aggressively for the future just because I still believe I have a long time horizon. I turn 40 later this year, and so I'm going to keep my equity exposure very high. I've continued to diversify into some angel investing and still hold a little bit of crypto as well as alternative assets like watches and sports cards and those things that bring me some joy but really don't amount to that much in my portfolio. If you've been investing in index funds, I'm sure you've seen your net worth grow as well. And one of the things that I've been very proud of is the fact that the investing strategy that I recommend in my book, Financial Freedom, really still holds true and is what I would recommend doing today. It's important to continue to invest as early, often, and as much as you can in order to accelerate the rate of compounding. This is something I've now seen investing for a little over 15 years. The rate of compounding continues to accelerate, and my net worth is only growing faster. One concern is that Vanguard and Morningstar and other large financial institutions project that the stock market is expected to grow at a slower rate, and you can expect about 5% annual growth in your portfolio after inflation and dividend adjustments, as opposed to a 7+% from the past 100 years. So it is predicted that the U.S. economy and the international economy growth will slow and that we won't continue at these levels. But one of the things we as humans are terrible predictors of the future. So who knows what's ultimately going to happen? And I continue to recommend a broad-based, diversified investment strategy. Shifting gears a little bit, I want to talk about making money online. One of the most popular questions that I get is it still possible to make money online? Launching a podcast, blogging, how can I make money online? Should I launch an Amazon product? And the quick answer to that question is yes, it's definitely still possible to make money online. I still believe it's never been easier in history to make money, but there are some trends from over the past year that have made it much more competitive as the barrier to entry continues to get lower and lower in terms of technology making it easier to launch online businesses. You're seeing them really proliferate, and everyone's trying to launch a podcast. Everyone's trying to be a social media influencer and create courses and websites. And so the creator economy has certainly gotten much, much more competitive. But I do believe there are still tremendous opportunities if you have a great strategy and you're able to execute it on it consistently and really lean into your competitive advantage, which amidst increasing AI, I continue to believe is your story. Your story is your competitive advantage. It's what sets you apart. It's what makes you distinct. It's what people connect with. And really, so much of the creator economy is built around the creator. And do people connect with you? Do they trust you? Do they believe in you? Do they want to buy the products that you recommend? Do they want to engage with your content? And I wanted to share some of the key tips and things that are working for me currently in the creator economy if you're interested in making money online. So the first one is really, number one, lean into your story. What is your story? What makes you distinct? What can you share? What helps you stand out? I see far too many creators just trying to copy exactly what someone else is doing, and that's fine from a tactical perspective. You can build a business like someone else, but if you don't have a distinctive story, no one's going to pay attention. There's so much competing for our attention today that it's not just another blog or another website. There's an infinite number of things that we can do at any given moment on our phone and in our life. And so it's getting more difficult to stand out from the crowd. When I started in 2015 creating content, my story of going from $2.26 to $1.25 million in my bank account was sufficient and helped me get attention around the world and sign a book deal. Now that story is just not very impressive, and there are people who have done way more impressive things, and no one would click on an article about me today with that story. And so you need to think about, what is your story? What's unique about it? It doesn't have to be extreme. It doesn't even have to be extraordinary. But number one, you really have to lean into your story. Number two, you have to have a very specific strategy. So the big thing that I see creators doing today is that they try to get on every single platform. They're on all the social media platforms. They try to launch a podcast. They really try to create a media business from the beginning, as opposed to learning how to master one platform. And so I always recommend that you start with the platform that you feel most comfortable with. And so if you want to create short form video on TikTok or Instagram or YouTube, start there and then get comfortable creating content and maintaining consistency. That brings us to point number 3 is consistency. I see far too many new creators. They'll launch a podcast. A vast majority of podcasts don't even have more than 5 episodes. I think I read a statistic. It was like 95% of podcasts that have been launched don't get past episode 5. And so just maintaining consistency in anything that you're creating is an essential component. That's why it's so much easier to create content around something that you love and something that you're passionate about, rather than something that you just think that people will be interested in. And then number 4, have a really specific strategy about how you want to make money with your content. So there are tons of blueprints out there that you can learn from. It's not rocket science. There's a limited amount of ways that you can make money with any platform, and it's important to understand the pros and the cons of each platform when it comes to making money. So if you're going to build your creator business on YouTube, understand that YouTube wants to keep you on YouTube and show you more ads. And so thinking about how you can build a channel to maximize the attention span and get people to watch your videos for as long as possible. The longer that people stick on your videos, the more likely you're going to be shown to new users, and the more money that YouTube ultimately makes on advertisements because people have spent more time watching your videos. One of the things I'm seeing is affiliate revenue, which is when you get paid for recommending someone's product when they sign up for it. Affiliate revenue is tanking from YouTube as the descriptions below the videos are being deprioritized by YouTube. They've actually been testing removing those descriptions and those links, but they haven't made a decision on that beta feature. But they clearly want to keep you on YouTube, and affiliate revenue for the channels that I know and that I've worked on has really dropped through the floor. So you can't rely on affiliate revenue. You really have to rely ultimately on YouTube ad revenue, which right now is a good split, but could certainly change in the future. And always understand that if you're going to be building your creator business on someone else's platform, you are beholden to that platform. So as I'm recording this, recently the House of Representatives in the United States approved a TikTok ban. It's now going to the Senate to vote. I don't know whether or not TikTok is going to be banned or not, but if it is, there are going to be millions of creators who lose their business overnight. And that's just one of the risks of building on another platform that's increasingly changing. We've all heard the horror stories of people building Facebook businesses and those drying up overnight. We're always beholden to the platform on which we create. And that's one of the reasons why I continue to recommend building your own website, not just a landing page, owning your own email list, owning your own podcast, those types of assets that are yours and aren't as dependent upon other platforms. So certainly you can have a website business and be impacted by a Google algorithm update, and then your traffic drops. One of the websites that I own, bankbonus.com, we got hit with a Google helpful content update in September, and the traffic is down considerably. So that's really threatened that business. Thankfully, I own 4 other websites that have helped to diversify the revenue and the portfolio. But even a website where you rely on Google traffic, you're beholden to Google. If you have a social media profile, you're beholden to the algorithm and that social media platform. It can get banned, it can change, it can adapt. And so as a creator, it's really important to build a brand and a personal brand that really extends outside of the platform and is platform agnostic. This is something that I did somewhat accidentally when I launched my Millennial Money website. And over time, my personal brand has gotten bigger than the website. And it's allowed me to do things like write books and speak and travel and build my own business on my own terms. As you're listening to this, this is episode 47 of the podcast. But I have a podcast and I've made decent money on the podcast, but I haven't had to rely on the podcast for my income. And so I can publish podcast episodes whenever I want. But I view that as part of my personal brand strategy, which is focusing more on quality than quantity and building it for the long term. So I'm thinking about my personal brand over the next 10 and 20 years, writing a book every 5 years, continuing to use that personal brand to get investment opportunities, to get cool opportunities to do things in my life, and ultimately expand my life in a way that I couldn't do without having a personal brand. This is something I stumbled into. I think I'm very much a reluctant influencer, and I'm certainly not an influencer by any means based on the standards today. I don't have millions of followers, but I have had tens of millions of visitors to my websites and platforms, and many, many millions of people have viewed my story. But now, as I'm getting older, I'm almost 40. I turned 40 in December. I'm like 200 years old in internet years. And it's been interesting to look back because now I've really been working in the internet economy for the past 15 years. And so I've seen a ton of different shifts and changes. And it's pretty fascinating to think forward to understand how we can best compete. And, really these key 4 tactics that I shared, I think are essential if you want to win in the creator economy. This is really just a few of the tips that are included in my new book, which is, 120,000 word book focused on how to make money primarily in an online economy, but really how to build a business that you love and that helps you live a life that you love. So I'm super excited to release an entrepreneurship book. I've put my all into it. I recently turned in the manuscript and now I'm in the editing phase. The tentative release date is March 2025. And so I'll be sharing more about the book on the podcast and have a whole launch plan just like the last one. So I'll be doing more podcast episodes. I'll be going on a podcast tour. I'll be going on a book tour. I'm planning to do 7 events in the US and then some international events. Now my book is in 15 languages and it's been pretty popular in Southeast Asia and Australia and other markets. And so I'm definitely going to do an international tour and I'm very, very excited about that. But writing this second book was certainly a lot more difficult than the first one for a few reasons. And I wanted to share those with you. The first is, the first book was pretty successful and has given me a ton of opportunities. And it's like any band, coming out with your second album. I was very nervous about coming out with another book and, worried that it's not going to do as well as the first book. And, the bar is a lot higher in terms of my own expectations now that I know how the industry works, now that I am a more experienced writer. And so early on, I was very nervous about writing a second book and thought hard about, did I actually want to do it? And was thinking maybe I would just write Financial Freedom and leave that out into the world and let that be my contribution. But over time, after the pandemic, after I started hearing from more Financial Freedom readers around the world, after it started spreading, after my net worth started growing, I started to think about, is there another way that I can contribute? Is there a way that I can continue this story? And I really love entrepreneurship. And the second book is really kind of my love letter to being an entrepreneur. I think it's just an incredible time to be an entrepreneur. I think that everyone's an entrepreneur. I think that amidst increasing uncertainty, it's actually less risky to be an entrepreneur than a full-time employee. We've all seen the incredible number of layoffs at some of the most well-known and companies where you thought, you'd have a really secure job. Places like Google and Amazon and Meta, are laying off people in droves. I think there's been over 300,000 layoffs from the tech industry just in the past year. And this is going to be one of the challenges with AI. I do think it's going to be much more difficult for knowledge workers to build careers and to sustain those careers if they're reliant on an employer. And so I'm extremely bullish on being an entrepreneur. I feel like I've learned a ton launching multiple different companies, and I feel like I have a pretty unique perspective. One of the things that the book does is it gives you a very expansive view of the entrepreneurship path. So it's not just here's how you start a business. It actually takes you from coming up with an idea to start a business all the way to scaling that business and selling it and starting a holding company. So it follows my journey really from the age of 30 to 35 or 36. And so it's a really nice continuation from the first book. And there's just a ton of mindset shifting strategies that I share in there. I talk a lot about how my idea of freedom has changed, how it's expanded as I've had more time to expand. And I'm very excited to share it with the world. A little impatient given the fact that I have to wait another year to get it out to the world, but I'll be sharing more and more about it, and I'm very excited. And it's always such a privilege to write something into being, and I feel very grateful to have the opportunity to write another book with Penguin Random House. And was a little shakeup in the middle of it. My editor left for Simon & Schuster, so I have a new editor. That's been a little bit stressful, but I'm really excited to continue to write books, and now I'm hoping to write a third book. And very much when it comes to my own personal identity and how I think about myself, I'll always be an entrepreneur, but increasingly I'm viewing myself as a writer, even beyond just being a creator. And I'm pretty bullish on books. And last year, business books had a record selling year. I do believe that entrepreneurship as a topic will just get more and more popular. More and more people will create their own businesses, will be in control of their time. That will be essential. And so I think the book will really meet the moment when it comes out. And I'm really bullish on writing books. I do think that there is, you see the most popular podcast, our long form podcast. I think people are getting increasingly impatient and with short form content. And of course, I think things, will shift back from kind of a digital more to, an analog consumer model. And just like you see vinyl getting more popular, physical books are starting to get more popular. Even bookstores are coming back. They're more independent bookstores. Barnes and Noble has, come back and is much more unique and differentiated than they once were. And I'm excited to create in that environment and keep writing books. As my website's gotten older, even though I reacquired Millennial Money, something about books being able to last beyond the web. It's something, I'm very in love with the object of books. I collect books. There's really kind of a magic there that I didn't understand until I became an author. And it's something that you can create that someone can consume on their own time. And I really do think that books are magic. I think that they're alive, and I take the responsibility of creating them very seriously. And, that's all to say I'm pumped to share more about my entrepreneurship book and expand on some of the ideas that I've just alluded to here in this podcast about how do you build an asset-light business, an online business, in a way that ultimately helps you make money, be more adaptable to change, that helps you pivot, and really helps you build a life that you love, because that's really what it's all about. We live in such a remarkable time where, even though it is more competitive and more challenging, and I think it's going to get more and more competitive, building an asset-light business where you don't have to have a ton of overhead. I always talk about how it's, making money from air. You launch a website, you monetize it, and you keep optimizing it, and you certainly have to work on it. It's by no means fully passive income, but the opportunity that you can just create something that lives online and that will make money for you, I'm still very bullish on that idea, and I'm excited to continue to play in that space and evolve. And that brings me to my last point. I wanted to share that as of this week, I've reopened my Fivepreneur community, which is a community of entrepreneurs who are starting businesses and growing businesses, primarily online businesses. This is something that I launched in September of 2023, really as a beta. I've spent so much time. I've written over 1 million words on money. I've shared my book. I've done speaking engagements. But one of the things I've never done is coaching and worked individually with entrepreneurs. And so in preparation for the second book and to help me write it, I launched this beta group of entrepreneurs to really test the ideas and really create a very simple framework to help anyone find a business idea. I've actually created an AI business search engine where you can list your skills and your experience and your interest, and then just get served ideas that you can pick from. That tool is free, and I'll make sure to share it. But the Fivepreneur community has really been fulfilling for me because I've been able to really meet people, meet readers, and help people one by one based on their unique circumstances. And so a lot of being an online creator, being a writer, everything is so anonymous. You're selling books, people are coming to your website. You do get some emails from readers thanking you, but you don't get to engage with people very often one-on-one. And I really wanted to create a space online where people who resonated with my content and my worldview and my mindset and wanted to learn from my experience could come and work together and utilize me as a resource, because I've already had way more success in my life than I ever anticipated. I've talked about this on some earlier podcast episodes. Really, I've accomplished every single one of the goals that I had for myself. And now I'm at a point in my life where I get a lot more joy giving back than I do simply creating for myself. And so writing books is ultimately a joy, and I get a ton of fulfillment from it. And I know that it's going to help people. But working one by one is a different level of intimacy and support. And a lot, it was really fulfilling and has been really fulfilling to me. And I'm really excited to announce that I've reopened the Fivepreneur community for new members, and that's open until Friday, April 5th. So if you're listening to this now and it's before Friday, April 5th, 2024, you can go to grantsabatier.com/community and it'll redirect you to the sign up page. You can also just go to fivepreneurs.com, which is FIPRENEURS.com. That's fivepreneurs.com, and that's the landing page to sign up. This is definitely not a hard sell. If you're interested in launching a business, my content has resonated with you. If you want to engage with me one-on-one, and that's the cool thing, we actually do have a Slack where you can DM me anytime, and I actually write back. I'm on that Slack every morning, engaging with members. And there are Q&A calls, there are business deep dives. There's a lot of cool stuff happening within the community, and I'm very, very involved. I'm putting my all into it, and I'm getting a lot from it. And I'm excited just to take these ideas and use it to help others. And people have already created some really cool stuff, some great blogs, some e-commerce companies, some Amazon products, some in-person service companies. And you can learn more about the businesses that are being created within the community at fivepreneurs.com or grantsabatier.com/community. So that's it. Just a quick announcement. If you're listening to this after April 5th, you can still go to those websites and sign up for the wait list, but I haven't opened it in the past 6 months, and I'm planning to only open it a couple of times a year because I want to be able to give my all to the community. There is a fee for membership, but that fee covers the overhead. We have some coaches in the community. We have some technology expenses. I don't make very much money from the community. That's not why I'm doing it. I'm doing it to help others, and I'm excited to have it be a part of the launch plan for the second book, which is focused on entrepreneurship. So I think the community will only get bigger. I think it'll only get stronger. So check it out if you're interested. Fivepreneurs.com, GrantSabatier.com/community. Thank you for listening to this episode. I'm excited to launch more podcast episodes. I'm excited to do more solo episodes. Thanks for staying a subscriber for all of these years. Thank you for finding this podcast. I'm very grateful that I get to continue to create and be alive during this moment. I do believe it's never been easier in history to make money, to use that money to build a life that you love. Thank you for taking this time with me. I hope you have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you soon.